welcome Leanne and Andrew. Sorry, we kicked away. That's all right, we put that in. We kicked away being on as requested. It takes us to item 7, the Zone Committee Annual Report, and I'd like to welcome the chairs and deputy chairs of the Zone Committees, and thanks for giving up your time to come in and talk to us today, because I think it's really important that we hear straight from you. So first off, we have got the Banks Peninsula Zone Committee. Gina, welcome to the table.
Morning, thank you. So today I'm speaking in place of Benita Wakefield, who unfortunately has had to resign as chair due to health reasons. So I'd just like to acknowledge her contribution as chair over the past 2 years. She's done a lot to create a really warm, welcoming atmosphere at our meetings, where committee members and members of the public felt comfortable and encouraged to contribute. We are lucky to have Benita continue on, though, as the Runanga rep for Wairewa. She's just wanting to slow down a bit.
Right. Oh, well, thank you for that. Please pass on our recognition for her hard work too.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll be electing a new chair and deputy at our next meeting this month. I'd also like to acknowledge the other committee members and Councillor Turner and staff who support us, particularly CCC staff Liz Riley, our secretary, and Marion Schoenfeld, who took over from Peter Kingsbury last year as our council representative. Overall, the committee had a good year last year with minimal disruption from COVID. We approved 4 excellent projects from the Immediate Steps Biodiversity Fund and continue to have more projects put forward than can be funded each year. We're very pleased to have been the first Zone Committee to co-opt a youth member, with Irina Riddle completing her first year now. She was selected from the Youth Ropu. We've continued to work through what is coming up to be our 3rd year in our 3-year action plan, and the committee is looking forward to working to the new terms of reference following last year's review, which aligns well with the direction that the committee has already been taking. Going forward, the committee is trialling an approach that will focus our resources on 3 catchments for a set period of time, likely 2 to 3 years, rather than the previous approach, which attempted to cover the whole peninsula, and that resulted in a bit more of a scattergun effect. So we're hoping that by targeting our resources like this, it will result in better ki uta ki tai outcomes from the mountains to the sea in the selected catchments, and with better landowner and community engagement. One community where we already have good engagement and a high turnout at the annual meeting that we've had there over the last few years is Wainui, and would love to see that in other catchments. I've already previously mentioned the septic tank study in Wainui, which was released in September last year, but just to summarise again, they found high levels of faecal contamination in the lower catchment, but with only minor contribution from human sources, the majority being avian and to a lesser extent from stock, though the human contribution may have been higher in wet weather. Interviews with residents found that many septic tank systems are old, and uncertainty over council plans to reticulate wastewater in the area means that many residents are reluctant to invest in maintenance or upgrades of their systems. Lastly, I covered this in December, but I'd just like to reiterate that the committee were pleased to be able to provide early input into the LTP with a letter sent to council in November last year. The committee's top priorities are biodiversity funding for immediate steps, but also including bigger picture projects. Some examples would be similar to the Banks Peninsula Trust's Te Kākahu Kahukura project to create a 1,000-hectare biodiversity hub in the Southern Port Hills, and Rod Donald Trust's efforts to purchase land above Autumn Bradley Park that includes the summits of Mount Herbert and Mount Bradley. Implementation of the Whakaora Whakaraupo Catchment Management Plan in Littleton Harbour, with emphasis on erosion and sediment control, particularly roadside cuttings. implementation of the Wairewa Sub-Regional Plan Zipper recommendations, including ongoing funding for the Wairewa Bank Stabilisation Project. To secure community and farm water supplies while retaining ecosystem health. This includes funding preparation work towards a plan change to enable more realistic and responsive management of streams and water takes on Banks Peninsula, as we are concerned that existing rules may not be sufficient to protect water quantity and its effects on ecosystem health now and into the future. That CCC and ECAN jointly fund staff time to support and advise landowners on effective management of on-site wastewater systems, as well as promoting mahinga kai recovery through increased funding of fish barrier removal, risk assessment for adaptation to climate change, particularly in relation to freshwater ecosystem health, and lastly, weed management to protect biodiversity. And that's all I have today.
That's all you have. That's huge. That's an incredible amount of work. Thank you very much. Hey, look, just one question on the Wainui, because that is a big issue if people are not upgrading their septics and they're old because they don't know what our work program is. So I wonder if we could get a memo through to the Zone Committee on what our intentions are in that work program, whether we have funding in the LTP for Wainui or a time frame of when that might be, so that people have got certainty, like if we're not doing it for 10 years, people might upgrade. If we're intending to do it soon, then they might wait. Because that's obviously, is that where the E. coli is coming from in the Wainui stream as well? Or some of it?
Do you want to answer that, Shelley?
I was going to say,
take a seat.
the study happened when there was no rainfall, so it might have been that if it had rained at the time of the study, the human sources might have been greater in terms of the evidence. But I was just thinking, rather than sending the Zone Committee a memo, the Zone Committee already knows that the City Council is very unlikely to be doing any kind of reticulation there for at least 10 years or more. It's more the local community that needs to know. And they may have already been told through the community board or through the City Council staff.
So you'd rather we sent it through to the community board and ask them to advise the community?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that guidance. If there's no other questions, we can move on to the next. Oh, Sarah?
Thank you so much. Just that we listed that you had at the end of things that you'd quite like us to be doing and helping with more funding through. That's not in the actual report. That was just an additional wee list.
Yes, so that was a letter that was sent in November as a way of providing
for the LTP.
Early input to the LTP.
And just checking process-wise, do the zone committees get to submit on the LTP?
Don't think so.
No.
Because they're committees of council.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
right,
we
yeah.
need to maybe have the zone committees coming in a similar way that the community boards do. So the community boards are committees of council and they get to submit. So we need to work out some way of having better and more formal input, I think, from the zone committees.
I think it would be good if they could.
Can we
get some clarification on that, David, with the Zone Committees?
That would be great.
Thanks, Sarah.
Seems crazy that they can't. Yeah.
Anne?
Yeah.
Kia ora, Gina, thank you. I'm really impressed that you've got your a youth member and you're the first Zone Committee to do that. What was the process? Did she approach you, or how did you make that happen?
She attended a few of our meetings, and actually two youth members from the ROPU did, and yeah, it was just through discussions between committee members and Erina, and we then sort of took the initiative to create a role, and I think it's Christchurch now got one as well.
Christchurch,
Yeah,
we've had one since
Yeah.
the middle of last year.
As well as that, the staff involved in the ECAN Youth Rupu helped work through the process and helped to ensure that the young people, would be a good environment for them and figuring out transport and things like that. But with the Zone Committee review process last year, it'll now be that all Zone Committees can have a youth member, and they're exactly the same as every other member of the committee with exactly the same
Yes, and there's
responsibilities.
one other that already has, so that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Gina. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Phil.
Thanks, guys. That's great. Is there any chance of being able to go and have a look at that near river recharge thing to see sort of how it works and what it does? Is it?
I'm not familiar with that, but
That's another zone committee.
Oh, sorry. So I've gone too far. Sorry. Right.
The Selwyn.
Any
Next
time.
one.
I'm here all day.
And that's the Selwyn Waihora.
yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Gina.
Thank
Awesome
you.
work. Christchurch West Melton, Kevin Brown, welcome to the table. Top that. I'm sure you will.
No, Marina, this report's fairly brief. I gave a summary of the annual report at the last meeting, so in between then and now there's been only one meeting since the previous report. This was in February. It was a really interesting meeting. It was a joint meeting that we held between the 3 zone committees with Christchurch, West Melton, Selwyn and Banks Peninsula. And we had this joint meeting to share experiences and to discuss the new purpose and functions, which together with the 3 councils' priorities, to share experiences about successful products and how they became successful and how they were undertaken, to hear about Te Mana o Wai and essential fresh water and national policy statements 2020 and things like that, and to learn about a new water data project from ECAN. Yep. 2 days ago, the Zone Committee paid a 3-hour visit to the Otakaikinu waterway. This year, the Zone Committee has decided to make this waterway a priority for a majority of its immediate steps funding. We had representatives there from the local Runanga, the Isaac Conservation Trust, ECAN, City Council, and the Water and Wildlife Habitat Trust. We heard about the cultural significance of the water in Mahinga Kai, the work that the Isaac Trust is doing in maintaining pathways and walks in the area, the ecology of the river and the use of the land under lease from ECAN. The committee last year had voted to suggest to ECAN that the land that is currently under lease, it's leased out to farmers for grazing, and the motion was that it be moved from grazing to conservation to protect some of the plants and other biodiversity present in the area. We met in early February with Clive Appleton from the council here to firm up plans for the Zone Committee to help with consultation processes for the stormwater management plan for the Pāwaho Heathcote catchment. Jointly with Clive, we came up with a plan for meetings, for drop-in centres, display boards and things like that. The consultation process has now been pushed back to after the mid-year, but the concept of how to get this consultation going is now in place. It was pleasing to see that there's been some movement in research into the correlation between low levels of nitrate in the drinking water and colorectal cancer. Recently publicised research was the first step in looking at this link. As I understand it, and I haven't seen the actual paper yet, it was a study to see if the data was available and if it was possible to actually do the correlation. In any event, it made headlines and kept the issue in the public eye, and this council actually wrote to the minister and got this actual research going. It's extremely important for Christchurch because Christchurch's drinking water could be affected to the point where nitrate levels are high enough to actually cause some problem if it correlates with a study which was done in Denmark. Just before our next meeting this month, we'll be signing the Community Waterways Partnership Charter together with this council and ECAN. We're looking forward to that. And finally, our meeting at the end of this month is planned to be a workshop to put together an action plan for the committee for the next 3-year period. And this is part of the rejigging of the Zone Committee's purpose and functions as decided by the Mayoral Forum. So that's all I have. It's been a holiday time and we've only had one meeting.
Yeah, no, that's huge work. Thanks, Kevin. And that's good news about the nitrate study. So that's been given the go-ahead to actually do our own one here. And you don't have any idea of the time frame for that?
No, I don't, unfortunately. I'm trying to find out a bit more about it. It just came out in the newspapers a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so. And that is really important.
Yeah, it's a joint study. Ultimately, I think the Department of Health is a joint study between Victoria University and Otago Medical School.
Right. So I know that in our submission to the Plan Change 7 think Christchurch City Council suggested a level of 1.8.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see as an acceptable level?
The Danish study proved a significant correlation between colorectal cancer and nitrate levels of 0.85. So it's definitely lower than that level.
1.8.
Yeah,
Well, it'll be
and
interesting to see.
it was a huge study. It was a 1.7 million people followed for 35 years. So it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And we can't use it because they say it didn't really relate to our environment and they.
Well, we need to find out.
Yep.
That, so
we'll do
hopefully
that.
this research will be done. There's data around for whereabouts this cancer is prevalent, and if it correlates with high nitrate areas, which we know, then that's all we're asking for. We
Do you,
wait.
'cause you have a well, don't you?
Yes, I don't drink our water.
No, you distill it.
We distill it. Yeah, we can't drink our water. It varies between. I'm in West Melton, and it varies between about 5 and 12, depending on the time of the year and the rainfall. So that's quite bad. And there's a huge number of farmers' properties in the Canterbury Plains that all rely on these wells. Most of them aren't analysed, and most of them don't know.
Well, I think we've done a good thing getting those letters off. The Zone Committee instigated that. This council picked it up, supported by ECAN, and we've got some action happening. So that's a good news story. I know Yanni's got a question. Does someone, Jake, did you have one over this side? Aaron. Then Yanni, do you have a question?
Just with the Danish study, is their water similar to ours? As in, does it get filtered for 1600 years?
They have varying levels of nitrate, and they just follow those levels through for the 35 years. And it's a similar sort of country, I guess. They have a lot of agriculture.
Right, so that applies to the shallow bores, but not our deep ones where it's the aquifers of running water that's 1600 years old type thing.
You mean for Christchurch?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for Christchurch, the shallow bores are the main problem at the moment,
Yeah.
but some numerical modelling by ECAN showed that water is coming through from Waimakariri district, which is going to have higher nitrate, and this will end up in some of the deeper bores. Ultimately, the more water you take out of the deeper bores, you'll be dragging in some of that surface water into those deeper bores. So ultimately, I mean, it might be 20, 50 years away, but it's something you've got to look at now.
Do.
Sorry? No, that's a guess. It could be a long time for it to get there, but if the council is moving to more deeper bores, then you'll lower the pressure and more water will be coming in to fill up the.
Of course
that
it will.
water.
We're moving to deeper bores to get away from the pollution. Yanni and then Leanne.
Thanks for the work that you've done. Just two questions. One was, do we have any sense of who's been producing the nitrate? Who the biggest contributors are?
I'd like to say irrigated dairying, but that's not my field.
Yeah,
But
and it's agriculture and horticulture.
It's
so you can't,
agriculture,
and we don't want
horticulture.
to play the blame game here. We want to get on.
Yeah.
with this.
Is it the kind of the big corporates that are, there's some stuff that came out around, that's just the local farmers as much as the kind of.
Don't know. Sorry. All I know is that our values at home are quite high, and we're not alone in this. I have kit for measuring nitrate and stuff at home, so I do neighbours and some people further away, and some of the values are all quite high.
Okay. Thank you, Leanne. Oh.
Was in regards to a response, the Canterbury Water Strategy targets. Do you think we could? I mean, should we be amending those now? I don't quite know the process to do that. I was assuming those targets were agreed.
For nitrate levels?
So
Yeah, the nitrate levels, the drinking water levels in New Zealand are set by, basically they accept the WHO drinking water levels, which are set at approximately 11.3. 50 parts per million of nitrate, or about 11.3 parts per million of nitrate nitrogen.
So the zone committee can advocate for those levels to be altered, which you are doing, and which the government's also looking at through the Fresh
That's
Water.
right, yeah. And there was a lot of controversy at the recent national policy statement about nitrates, and so it's being looked at the moment.
Yeah.
About
Sign up on the targets in our Canterbury Water Management Strategy. So we could set a target.
yeah, can do, I guess. That's not my game, but
You can, but the strategy is not a statutory document, so it doesn't overrule, it doesn't sit higher than plans and national policy.
Zone committees recommend.
Yeah.
That we're concerned that we're taking a precautionary approach. Maybe, I've got some advice from staff about target levels.
I mean the key driver would be what happens when the study comes out, I guess.
That's right, evidence-based.
Yep.
Leanne?
I just kind of wanted to acknowledge the fact that you had raised this, and it came up at one of these reports that you'd written to the Ministry of Health, back in 2019. I followed that up with correspondence on behalf of this council.
Yep.
In relation to the precautionary approach. The government, as you know, has established a task force to investigate the relationship of nitrates, and I've got a briefing here at the council this Friday, and I just wondered whether I should make the offer available to yourself to come
To Kevin, yeah.
to the briefing. It's just at 4 o'clock on Friday with Dr. Tim Chambers, who's one of the, he's a senior research fellow and a member of the government's Nitrates and Drinking Water Task Force. So I just, given that it's just so close, and we've been following up on this as a result of you raising it at one of these reports,
Right.
which has actually emphasised the significance of the reporting process that we instituted.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to come along. Thanks a
Great.
lot.
So David,
Right.
could you send that through to Kevin, please,
Yeah.
in the details? That'd be
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks, Leanne. Thank you very much. And of course, the Christchurch West Melton Zone Committee is very focused on stormwater work and improving our contaminants, or removing our contaminants at source in our urban environment. And I love the picture here. You've got of Evan Smith with him being presented as a stormwater hero, and that's a great project, the Stormwater Heroes. So that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, Evan was actually a kind of an ad hoc member on one of our working groups, so we miss him a lot.
Yes, we all do. Yeah.
I could add, speaking of Evan, this weekend is the Grow event at the Botanic Gardens, and there will be a display, a Stormwater Superheroes display there, which will include a very hot off the press. The Stormwater Superhero mobile resource is being picked up today from the engineers,
Oh, really?
and so it will be there. And that was Evan's idea, that mobile resource. It will also be at the Community Water Partnership launch. If you don't mind, I'll just mention that the process for finding new committee members is coming up, which happens annually, and it will be advertised, but it will be opened. The advertising period will be between the 12th of April and the 10th of May, so it starts the day after LTP consultation ends, and then there will be workshops for the panels to meet the applicants and go through that appointment process, and that will be from the 17th to the 28th of May, and that would involve the councillors the city council councillors who are involved in those zone committees.
Right. Well, thanks for the heads up. It comes around quickly, doesn't it? And that stormwater mobile resource has been a long time in the making. Well,
Absolutely.
not that long. What, 4 years or something? I don't know. But it's a wonderful educational resource, isn't it, to show people what happens to your stormwater and everything that you put down your
That's right.
stormwater pipe goes into the river.
And it's the city council who's paid for most of it. ECAN's perhaps put in more time, but the city council had more of the money, and a number of community groups have helped design it.
Yeah, well, let's all get down there and have a look at it because it's cool. Hey, thanks very much, guys. I'd like to welcome Les Ronhola from the Selwyn Waihora Zone Committee. Nice to see you, Les. Thank you.
Kia ora all, For the ones who don't know me, I'm Liz Mahalo. I'm Tamutu representative on Wahara plus other zones. I am the co-chair there with Fiona McDonald. She sends her apologies today. She's committed to work. I'd like to also at this stage acknowledge Councillor Galloway for her input into our zone committee. It's unfortunate that your committees hold on a Tuesday at the same time as ours, so she's unable to get to most of them, but then when we have other things outside that time, she endeavours to get there. As you can see in our 2020 annual report last year, we did a lot of community engagement and talking to the community about their concerns. We used the information to draw our new action plan for the next 3 years, which we did just recently, last month I think it was. The activities we did last year fits well with the changes to our terms of reference. We hosted several public meetings that collaborated the support community members doing great work and gave them the opportunity to tell us what else they needed. There was a lot of talk and community come back to us about the drinking wells and the nitrates in it. We've been inundated with that request, how they can have their wells tested. At this stage they're paying for it out of their own pocket and having to pay for their own filters and everything like that. So there is a bit of concern about the expense of having their drinking well. Everybody's entitled to fresh drinking water. We reported to you at 4 times, CCC 4 times, and we'll now be doing the same to ECAN and Selwyn District Council. There's a new concept to come in for them as well, that we report 4 times a year instead of just the once. Also, we're going to try and change the personnel who does the presentation instead of falling down on me all the time to do these, because that gives a better outlook and perspective from across the board.
Yeah, that's good.
We attend important projects, open events in our zone, and one of them was the air water recharge. I'll talk to you when you ask a question on that one. And we show we support and encourage we participate fully on them. We recommend over $100,000 for ECAN biodiversity through the immediate steps funding over the last year. We also farewell 2 of our long-serving members, and Ron Pello and Ellen Lim. We do have that makes us quite short on the ground. We was always 1 short anyway, so now we're 3 short. Sometimes it's hard to get a quorum at some of our meetings. But the refresh is coming up within the next couple of months. So we're hoping, we actually have no farmers on board at the moment, or nobody from the farming industry even. So we're hoping to get some farmers on board, because really it is a farming area. So we need that on our committee. Hope it doesn't turn back the way it was, all farmers. But never mind, we'll get there. We nearly finished our new action plan. We think our 5 priorities will align with the suggestion priority from your council, ECAN and Selwyn District Council. In our plans, we're committed to facilitate a community-wide approach, and I think that's what we need in because a lot of people in the community don't even know what CWMS is or who we are or where we're from or anything.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to push out further out into the community. In fact, we haven't had a meeting at Selwyn District Council in over 2 years, so we've had all our meetings out in the community, maybe a lot more at Lincoln than other communities, but we are out and about. So just unfortunately, we was meant to have our meeting 2 weeks ago at Te Para Moki at a Tāmutu, but with COVID coming over, that we had to cancel that, and that was mainly going to be on Te Manawa Tawai and Mahinga Kai, and the cultural aspect of a region. But unfortunately we had to cancel that, and we will fit that in at a later date. He had done a lot of work on, over the last 2 years, on the Waikiki no, sorry, I'll go back again. two rivers side by side. The Waikiki Selwyn River, we've done a lot of work on that, and we've had a working group for 2 years, and we almost come to the end of that working group, and they've fed a lot of recommendations back to us, and then we just coordinating them at the moment and going to go back to council and say where we need support in that. We support the action of the restoring of Te Waihora. We want to try and restore it back to some sort of healthy state, and the only way we can see that happening is we have to clean up all the tributaries first to stop the contaminants get into the lake. And once we start that, we then can concentrate on how we clean the lake up, because it's pointless trying to clean the lake up first, then clean up the tributaries. Help to raise awareness about private water drinking. We've already gone through that, and I think that's a very important one. I mean, we do have people, especially down the Selwyn huts, which is right down the lower end of the water line, and that's where there is a lot of concentrate of nitrates. In our action plans, we have a lot of words like assist with, investigate, attend or host. That one of those ones, we do attend a lot of the school plantings and community plantings in that area. We go out and just have chats with them. We actually plant plants with them as well. Collaborate, promote, send a representative to, and one that's coming up in the very near future is the field day at Kuwi. We're going to be out there and make sure we have a good presence out there and get our message out there. And I think that's another important thing. We've got to get the message out to.
And do some recruitment.
If they don't understand, they won't help. Send letters to, wherever we've got to send letters to, we're going to do a lot more of that. We're going to develop a lot more advice through our workshops and stuff like that. And especially we had a drop-in series on farmers, but they, with COVID-19, they sort of went backwards, that one. But we will start those type of things up again. We would like to thank the Christchurch City Council for your ongoing support for our committee, and also request continuing conversation with us about the future role of these times and great times to come.
Oh, thank you very much. What a great report. It's really interesting reading. I'm sorry we were a wee bit squeezed for time today, and I know Phil wants to ask you about a site visit, but could you just give us a quick heads up on what the Waikirikiri recharge project actually is? What does it do?
It is a project progress
How does it work?
From the Central Plains Water.
Yep.
And what it does, it takes halfway between the halfway down the pipeline can draw water off and into a settling pond up at the back of Darfield.
Yeah.
And then that's released into more into the Horata than the Waikirikiri. We find that for cultural reasons we didn't want it to go straight into Waikirikiri. We wanted to filter down through groundwater aquifers before it reaches the Waikirikiri or running water.
Would it come from the Waimakariri? Or the,
No, it comes from the Rakaia. And
so
Rakaia is a alpine-fed river. The Waikirikiri is a spring-fed river. So we didn't want to mix those waters because we don't know what would happen if it did. And at the other end, at Lake Te Wahara. So
what's the picture in the report? What's the wee building there? What is it?
well, that's just where the pump house is.
So it
The
pumps
water
it in.
goes through into that. Then you see those pipes coming out in front of it.
Yep.
We can open those up. Well, they can open them up if we want 3 open. They can open 3, but they normally what we ought to have is open it right up and right along that front bit there. That falls up to about 800 metres. 800 centimetres of water.
Yeah.
Then they can turn the pipes back as needed to stop the flooding.
Oh, cool. Okay, so if Phil Major wants to go and have a look, how would he organise that? Can he contact you?
There'll be 2 avenues. I can find out more about it, but Central Plains Water, you can contact them, or Dr. Brent Painter. He's been made the lead on the recharge. Either contact 2 of them, but I can find out.
Okay, so we could actually get David to get the contacts from Central Plains if you want. All right, if there's no more questions for Les, excellent report, thank you. Oh, Anne,
I just wanted to just comment on the fact of the terrific focus that has been placed here on community and the way that we've identified that it really is coming from the bottom up in terms of taking responsibility for our waterways. So, and I also want to acknowledge the work that Les is doing. You know, he's really passionate about it and really appreciate what you do, Les.
Thanks, Anne. I support your comments too. Thank you very much, Les. So we're just going to put a note about the memo to Banks Peninsula Community Board to inform the Wainui community on our where we are with the Wainui wastewater project. Where we are or where we are not. Okay, so I'm happy to move the Zone Committee report to be received. Andrew will second that. Just wait till that goes up. To the Banks Peninsula. No, Community Board.
The progress of
Progress, I suppose. Is there any progress? On the Wainui wastewater project. The City Council.
Wainui wastewater project.
Great. Okay. Any comments anyone wants to make? Andrew?
Thank you, and I'll just keep this brief. I'd also like to acknowledge Benita Wakefield and the contribution that she's made to the Banks Peninsula Zone Committee in her time as chair. She certainly fostered a collaborative way of working, a very relaxed but at the same time no-nonsense approach to the work of the committee. And as we've heard from Gina today, the committee is making significant progress across what really is the large and very varied area of Banks Peninsula, with a huge number of different catchments and water bodies, each really with its own separate sets of issues. So I'd like to thank Benita for her commitment and for everything that she's contributed to the success and the effectiveness of the committee. And then the other thing I wanted to pick up on was the point that Sarah drew out through questions. The zone committees have been advised that they don't have the ability to submit to either the City Council LTP or the ECAN LTP because they are sub-bodies of each council. We really do need to find an effective way for them to get their messages across. Whether that is through formal submissions or whether it's through some other process. There is, of course, an urgency here because either they need to be able to submit as part of the submission period that we're about to open, or otherwise, there needs to be some kind of parallel process that allows for that information to land within that same time period. So if somebody can pick that up, I don't think we need a resolution, but if somebody can pick that up and come back to us, and more to the point, come back to the zone committees, I think that would be very helpful.
Thanks, Andrew. And I think that the letters have been received. I think we should dig those out and present them to councillors as part of our LTP discussions as well. But I also like to reiterate Andrew's words as well, and thank you again for giving up your time to come in. It's really valuable, and I think the zone committees are becoming stronger and stronger and gaining more and more respect and seeing more action from your recommendations. So I'm really, really proud to be sitting here and receiving these reports, which I think are really good, and they're really interesting for us all to see what work is being done on our most precious resource in our whole community, and to see the level of collaboration from community up, communities where it starts, and right through to collaborating with all organisations working together. And it's what you guys are doing, pulling all this together and driving it, and it's really, really incredible to see. So thank you again for all the work. James?
Kia ora. I'd like to add to the comments previously made about Benita Wakefield, not just for the fact that she represents Wairewa Runanga, which is where I whakapapa to, but the fact that she has a PhD in kaupapa Māori environmental health, and that's a significant resource to have in our community. So I wanted to put that on the table too.
Kia ora. All right, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so we move on to the next item, which is the resource